What's up, guys? How's it going? Wednesday Linc on an afternoon schedule. Sometimes, we do a little bit earlier, sometimes later. But Thomas, it's another week. Got to get a lot of things fixed.
We do. Although, I don't know. Have you convinced yourself that we're going to be not okay, but I was devastated after that game. I don't know
Yeah.
if people watched the post game show. I didn't want to talk. I mean, I was so convinced they were not only going to come back and win that game, but that was going to be the game that really springboarded them into, a hot Final Four games, into the playoffs. Anything's possible. And I just couldn't believe it. And then on my recap show, I said it's over. And now, I'm not doing a show today. I'll do a show tomorrow. I'm kind of compiling my thoughts. I don't think Philadelphia is by any means going back to the Super Bowl or that everything's fixed, but I think that was one of the better games that they played on offense the entire season. And it was just a couple of bad decisions by Jalen Hurts and a couple of drops by A.J. Brown that really sunk him. I mean, the entire Philadelphia media in the city today is talking about benching Jalen Hurts. And I'm not here to defend Jalen Hurts. He was awful. But Jalen Hurts had, I think, the most promising game of his most recent five. He just made a couple of poor decisions. A.J. Brown dropped three really, really catchable footballs, two of which should have been a touchdown. One was an interception. They had another touchdown called back. Everybody's panicking today. And I know that the stations like to just, talk about backup quarterbacks as if Tanner McKee is Nick Foles, because that's what we do in Philadelphia. But I'm still panicking, but I feel a little bit better. I feel better after this loss than I did after the Bear loss. The Bear loss was nothing. The Bear loss, there was nothing to be excited about. This loss was a championship caliber defense and the best offensive performance we've seen from Saquon Barkley and the passing attack, except for interceptions, which, Jalen wants to throw more interceptions. We're not going anywhere. But if he doesn't, I think the offense might not be Ben Johnson level, but better than it's been. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. And to make it clear, which we already have in the recap videos and everything else there, but Jalen Hurts is QB1. He's not being benched. The talk from everybody, the reason that it gets thrown out there and the reason that we even say
Oh
it
my
is because
gosh.
a lot of people on the streams from the game stream itself of how many chats, super chats, comments, everything else during it is it time for Tanner McKee? Tanner McKee
I
time.
know.
Jalen
I
Hurts,
know.
he's not the
I know.
answer. Now he has been really bad. I mean, even the last several games. It's not just that
Yeah.
one, but obviously in the Chargers game, he was bad. But I'm right there with you. We say this all the time. The tape tells the story. Like the knee-jerk reaction, emotions, that's fine. We're all there. We can all have moments where it's like,
I
oh,
did it.
get him out of
Yep.
here. He's done. Not the answer. All this other. Then you reflect. You take a day. You take 2 days. And then you look at the film and you kind of see, okay, are there some semblances of life? Is there any sort of optimism? And that's what you saw there. So I do agree that in the sense of what this offense has been, the Chicago game, it looked terrible. And then you watch the film and it still was terrible. Like there was
Yeah.
not much that you could go off of. For this one, you're like, yeah, it was, as you said, poor execution. There's some tipped passes. There's some drops that have happened. Guys that are still not making plays. Offensive line continues to be an issue. Better, but still continues to be an issue. But you look at the layered concepts in the passing game. You look at the routes they threw. It's not all hitches. They ran a lot still, but it's not all hitches. They have
Yep.
play action under center. They have under center just by itself. Like that is a win. But the fact that they continue to use it and they can see some benefits that come from it, and they have cross routes over the middle of the field. Jalen
Yep.
being willing to take those. Yeah, there's a lot of positives to come away from that. The question then just becomes, and Anthony and I were talking about the live stream last night as well, do the Eagles coaching staff, Nick Sirianni mainly, but Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, do they look at that and go, oh boy, nope, turnovers, it happened.
I hope not.
It happened.
I
So
hope
let's
not.
let's pull it back. Let's go back into our conservative shell, and we're going to inside zone, and we're going to hitch route, and we at least can't get turnovers. We're going to punt the ball a million times, but we will not turn the football over. I hope not as well, but that is maybe the biggest concern. But if they can find that happy medium, there were still bad instances, bad play calling issues out there, but there were some good parts of it as well. If they can find that happy medium, then I think, yeah, we're going to be walking away from it going, okay, we don't have to say they win the Super Bowl, but as you said, just some sort of optimism, a little bit of hope here.
Well, and let's be real. Again, we are not trying to sell you guys. I see that comment right now on a bad product.
Right.
Philadelphia's offense is still a bad product. But if Philadelphia's offense was 28th in the National Football League versus the Bears, in terms of how bad that game was, and they were 17th versus the Chargers, that's a big enough gap to overcome a lot of sins as long as you don't turn the football over. And as far as Jalen Hurts, let's just get one thing straight here. I'm not sure WIP talked about anything else today besides benching Jalen Hurts. I didn't listen at all, but I saw their social media clips, which is to me nuts. Jalen
It
Hurts,
was a
though,
lot. Yeah.
if there is a criticism, and this is very true of Jalen Hurts, the selling point on Jalen Hurts has always been the stats are not always going to be there. He's not going to throw for 500 yards a
Hmm.
game. He's not going to have 4 passing touchdowns. He's not going to do what Josh Allen does or Patrick Mahomes does or Lamar Jackson does, although 2 of those are not doing much this year. Silence from the media still. But he's not going to turn the football over, and he's going to win games. And as long as he does both of those 2 things, I think everybody in Philadelphia, except for the fringe haters who always, want the backup quarterback and want their quarterback to throw for 500 yards. Not saying we don't, but you get my point.
Hmm.
We're pretty much content because last year he won a bunch of games. He had plenty of stretches, we forget, where they didn't do a lot on offense. A.J. Brown reading the book, and yet in the end, he won all his games. He performed at the brightest stages like he does, and he did not turn the football over. The second that Jalen Hurts stops doing those 2 things, he starts turning the football over and stops winning games, people will rightfully abandon ship. And if it keeps going the next 4 weeks, we're going to have a real conversation whenever we get to the offseason about the future. I don't think there's any scenario where they move off of Jalen Hurts. I know Jeremy Fowler had a little thing on ESPN today saying maybe they'll draft a quarterback. They probably will because they're going to probably get a king's ransom for Tanner McKee by the New Orleans Saints. 2nd round draft pick, 3rd, nothing crazy.
Sure, yeah.
I think they definitely draft a quarterback.
But
That's not
they
an
always
indication
do.
They don't want
They
Jalen
drafted
Hurts.
Kyle
Yes.
McCord last year. So,
Yes.
to say the Eagles will
Exactly.
draft a quarterback is like me or you
Yes.
saying Howie will make a call for an edge rusher over the offseason.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
call about it all the time. But that's a total fair point.
But basically, the point is, once Jalen Hurts starts turning the football over and losing a lot more, then everyone can start panicking. But everyone cannot immediately throw the towel in after a couple of bad games when we are less than a calendar year removed from him out-dueling Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl winning MVP. And if you want to type that was last year, it doesn't matter. He's made 2 of them. There's really only one quarterback in my lifetime to actually make 2 who was pretty average overall in the regular season, and that was Eli Manning. And Eli Manning still won a ton of games and is still considered one of the better quarterbacks of the 2020s, of the last 20 years, even though, he's not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. It's hard to make one. It's hard to win one. He's made 2 so far, and the excuse that he had a super team in 2024 doesn't work in 2022 because that defense was awful. So I will continue to defend Jalen Hurts, but if he continues to lose, continues to throw interceptions, those are the 2 things that he has to keep on his end of the bargain for me to keep defending him, and I think his leash either way is still very long.
Right. And he's got and he's got limitations, as we've said too. We're
Sure.
not afraid to say that. Every quarterback
Sure.
does.
Every does,
But
yes.
the deep ball that Jalen Hurts can throw when he's on, he has bad games just like every quarterback in this league. But when he's on, the deep ball, the teardrop that he had to A.J. Brown in that game, it's a drop,
Perfect.
it's a pass breakup, wherever you want to say, but it's an incredibly thrown
Perfect
ball,
throw.
and so many
Mhm.
times we see Jalen hit that right on the money. You see it with the dagger. That's the reason that he's been able to capitalize. So the Eagles do certain things. They can just add small differences of this offense. Just make life a little bit easier. Move the pocket as they did. That was incredible to see, right? Like you're calling on the game. It's like, hey, under center, play action. Jalen rolls right. The pocket is moved to the right to keep him on the move, keep him upright, not as many pressures, and then throw over the middle of the field for completion. So we're all for changes that are positive. Don't go overreactionary, but probably don't need an extreme one way or the other. Teeter Totter with a 10 bomb. Appreciate that. Starting out here says, do we think that maybe this performance could be because of the changes Nick put into the scheme, and this was just Jalen adjusting to the new plays? Play calling looked better, but the execution was bad.
Well, and that, again, everyone wants to rip Nick Sirianni for being this idiot who doesn't know how to call offensive plays, and like he's this absolute disaster, and he, unless he has a good OC, the Eagles are a mess. And that might be true. But we just talked about 10 minutes ago that this offense did look better. The passing game, the running game looked much better. And it wasn't just lucky runs from Saquon Barkley. They were blocking very differently. They were doing more double teams on the interior. They were moving the left and right guards, getting them to the second level in places they have not been able to get to the past couple of weeks. And Nick Sirianni, he basically tried to fall on Kevin Patullo's sword this week by going, I'm going to help out a little bit, right? So all of us, instead of saying, oh my gosh, Kevin Patullo, he's got to go, we went, oh, Nick Sirianni says he's going to help. Well, when it looks bad, then we're going to go after the real problem, Nick Sirianni. Well, Nick Sirianni helped, allegedly, and it did look a little bit better. Again, he's not Ben Johnson. I see my buddy Matthew Krulak in here, the Bears fan, who thinks that he's, struck gold with Ben Johnson. You probably have. There's a difference in terms of coordinators. It makes a huge difference on who
Yep.
your quarterback is if they have a good coordinator. But we've been watching some of the worst design plays for 14 straight weeks, Josh. And when you get even a slight little pulse of better play calling, all of us are like, "Ooh," it's like you lock onto that thing and you go, "Wow, it did get a little better." Credit to Nick Sirianni if that was what it was, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? Jalen Hurts doesn't throw those interceptions. Philadelphia wins that game, and we're feeling a lot better and a lot different today than some of the real Debbie Downers in the chat.
Yeah, we talked about the pressing that Jalen may have done. Probably did. It appeared that way. Of some too aggressive. It was a change in offensive play calling or in scheme. It wasn't total. There were some similarities, but there was a change. But yeah, it did look like, okay, maybe it's to the extreme of it's a new play calling. There's some shots over the middle. Do I take this one? Is there second guessing? Is there hesitation? There were a couple double pumps in there. So yeah, and then obviously the inaccuracy. And I don't know if that's rushing things or where that fell, but that's where I say it's like you find the happy medium. Once they do that, it can be successful. So I'm not punting on it. I just really hope that they don't either. Jorge, by the way, congratulations for the membership of 18 months. Says if we lose in the NFC Championship, do you think Howie and Lurie give KP one more year? Yeah, probably. As sad as that would be.
The funny thing
NFC Championship.
we would all sign up for that right now. If you had to ask me, would you sign up, Thomas? You don't know the future of this season, but you can sign up for losing the NFC title game. We would all do it immediately right now. And that would mean they're winning 2 playoff games.
You would have to say, could we sign up to make the NFC Championship? Right? Like,
well, but that's what losing, that's what signing up to lose it means. That means we would have made the NFC title game and then lost it.
Well,
right
I know.
Now,
well,
Josh.
Okay, but if you got to be careful the way you frame that, because if someone goes, "What? We would all sign up to lose the NFC Championship game right now," like.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, I get to your point, but I think it's more of a phrase of like, hey, we'd all right now, would you like to make the NFC Championship game?
Sure.
Absolutely. Like, we're not saying no because I don't want Kevin Patullo to stay here.
Sure. Yeah, the better phrasing is that would you take or would you sign up for the conversation of debating to keep Kevin Patullo at the end of the year, which would mean that they're winning playoff games? Because right now, he's not staying. It's absolutely not going to happen. There's no way Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman allegedly calling all the shots, especially when it comes to coordinators, which, who knows? There's no way that they can look on Shane Steichen, 2022, to Brian Johnson, to Kellen Moore, to now Ken Patullo and go, I think he can stay. I think he can be okay. This is very clearly going in a direction where Philadelphia, barring making that NFC Championship game, will dump Kevin Patullo or maybe demote him. If Nick Sirianni wants to keep him around, goes back to being the passing game coordinator, which I think would be crazy, but whatever. And then they're going to hire somebody externally with some serious pedigree and try and rerun it, which I think most of us would sign up for. But, if they make the NFC Championship game, Josh, and they suddenly start looking good, there will at least be a conversation. Let's just say that. I don't think it's going to happen in terms of the NFC Championship game right now. But what I do think is going to happen is they're going to go on a run here because the next 4 games, terrible teams. I mean, you're playing Kenny Pickett, which was just dropped. The news just dropped. It's not going to be Geno Smith. It's going to be former Super Bowl champion Eagle quarterback Kenny Pickett on Sunday, which would be, as we said before the show, a nightmare to lose to. He would really sink this. I mean, the season is over if you lose that game. And then you're going to play maybe Jaden Daniels. He's not playing this weekend. It's Marcus Mariota, former Eagle Marcus Mariota twice. And then Josh Allen in Buffalo in the snow. So they could go on a run here and get hot and then still make the playoffs and then get bounced quickly. But I think the next couple of weeks, it's going to look pretty good. The Raiders are really bad, Josh. If it's 10-7 to the Raiders, if it's 13-6 to the Raiders,
oh my gosh,
there's no amount of optimism I can even fathom that I could bring to the show, even if they win on a Monday. It's got to be a double-digit win. I think it will be. The Raiders are really bad.
Yeah, 11.5-point favorites is what the Eagles opened up as.
Sounds
I think it
right.
got to 12.5, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, it's kind of it's the direction you want to see, I guess, in terms of that line. Now, I made a joke of this on Twitter, and I mentioned this on the live stream last night. It's the same spread that it opened up whenever we played the Cardinals in 2023. So for people that are going, oh, well, there's the similarities of that. Like you're playing a team that, they're favored by, they should absolutely beat, but just guarantee yourself, take the points for the Raiders. I can't fault you in the sense of what we've seen because of the offense. Can the offense score enough to cover that type of spread? Can they win a game by double digits? I don't know. But it's to the defense, they should hold up their end of the bargain. Kenny Pickett has not played much. He was better in the fill-in role last week against the Broncos,
Sure.
so maybe it's an improved, but still, to what magnitude? Like, we're not talking about, oh my gosh, Kenny Pickett should make this team super competitive against this Eagles defense. They've been lights out. And I would say, too, going back to the comment of like, oh, hypothetical, if we make the NFC Championship, KP and all this other stuff, there's still a way that he could get fired if you made the NFC Championship game. If the defense just, I mean, carried you so much where it's like you won a game 13-7 and you won a game, 14-10 in both your games to get to the NFC Championship. It's like the offense cannot do anything, and then again you lay another egg. If that happened, even getting
Yep.
to the NFC Championship game, it would be like we're done. There's just no excuse. But I think realistically, the way that most or all of us look at this, if they make the NFC Championship game, the offense found something. They don't have to
Yep.
be scoring 40, but they found something to score, 24, 28 points, somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
there, and we would be happy with that, especially with this defense.
Yep.
Damon's with a 10. Appreciate that. Says, do you think if Jalen had an offensive coordinator for more than a year, he would be better? And we kind of talked a little
100%.
of that on the Zoom call
100%.
last week. But yeah, it would
Yes.
be very, very helpful.
Yes, it definitely would, and a competent one at that. I mean, learning to play quarterback in the National Football League is very difficult. You can't do it on your own. When you go through all the great quarterbacks in recent NFL history, Josh Allen had Brian Dable, and now he has Joe Brady. You go to Patrick Mahomes, has Andy Reid the entire way. I mean, it's hard to go ahead and learn how to play quarterback when you constantly have a revolving door of guys. Some are competent and some are not. And right now, Jalen has a competent one, and then an incompetent one, and then a competent one, and then an incompetent one.
Mhm.
That's unbelievably hard. Look at, again, I keep using the bear analogy because one of my good friends, who I go hang out with tonight at our little, our little small group, friends or not friends, giving Christmas party. He's a diehard Bears fan, right? And he is just harping on this idea that Caleb Williams, right now, you take Caleb Williams over Jalen Hurts because it's so different because he's pumped that the Bears are playing well, and
Ben
they are.
Solak said the same thing on Kay Adams' show too. There's been
Caleb
several
will,
of those.
yes. He sent me that clip. He literally sent me that clip in our little
Okay.
group, in our
See?
little group text. Literally, look at Caleb Williams, his first season with a nobody at offensive coordinator, a total. I mean, that entire staff was awful with the Chicago Bears. Now he has one of the greats. And Caleb Williams is not playing fantastic. He's not going to win MVP, barely completes 50% of his passes for like 150 yards, but he's doing so many things better than he did a year prior, and that's with just a couple of months with a great offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams in year 2 under Ben Johnson is probably going to be double what we're seeing right now, if not 30 or 40% better. Imagine what Jalen Hurts could do, not just with a good, competent OC, but consistency as well. And that's another reason why today on the local sports radio stations, everyone talking about demoting Jalen Hurts and benching Jalen Hurts for Kevin Patullo is an idiot. Because, again, take all this stuff into context. It just makes absolutely no sense.
It doesn't, no. And I kind of went on a rant last night for the live stream, similarly talking about Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold. How many years did it take him to have something? Anthony brought up the case in point of Carolina had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on their roster at one point. Now look at him now, right? And then there's still issues that have happened. Baker Mayfield had been great. He had gotten much better with the Bucs. He had led them. Now he's like 22nd, 24th in terms of EPA per play for a quarterback. He's not been playing well. He had a good start early on. Some injuries, sure. He's banged up, so maybe that plays a factor, but everybody is, and you just wonder, like, where's the question? He has a new offensive coordinator because his guy left, naturally. He's in Jacksonville, but everyone deals with that, and there's issues and there's struggles that go to it, but you can't point to it and tell me Sam Darnold was this God's gift to football, and it's just, oh, he was always this good here, and there's nothing to do with offensive coordinator. You find him in the right system, you put him in the right system, and he plays much better. You same thing for Mac Jones. I made the argument last night. Mac Jones is top 10 QBR this year. Mac Jones. Do we believe in Mac Jones? We saying he's a good quarterback, right? Like, you put him in the right system, and you can cover up the issues. You can cover up the struggles. The fact that he's not a top-tier quarterback, but he can play well enough to win you games. And again, everybody has flaws. It's the good OCs that can maximize the strengths, like we've seen with Steichen and even Kellen Moore for winning the Super Bowl there. So I 100% agree. Yeah, fine. If you get an OC, especially if they were to get an OC that could stick around for any sort of longevity for Jalen, that would be fantastic because they could actually have an identity and have some comfort in, like, oh, this is what we do. These are our staples. It doesn't really change too much. And they can have some other voice rather than it's Sirianni's scheme and it's kind of that flavor of offense. And it'll basically be vanilla and there won't be enough creativity to really help or make his life easier. But that's where they're at. It's in the vicious cycle. So,
Well, and let's be real, because I just see a comment here that says the
yeah.
organization needs to do better with maintaining consistency of the OC position. That's 100% true. I was getting texts from people being like, "Man, Howie Roseman, got to get a Hall of Fame nod because he put together a team that was so good it could carry Jalen Hurts to a Super Bowl." And it's like, okay, well, I think he does deserve to be a Hall of Famer, but there are plenty of shortcomings in that Eagle front office, and the big one recently has been helping out Jalen Hurts grow and develop and get better year after year because they keep doing this internal offensive coordinator hire. And so, yes, I agree. There is tons of frustration everywhere because they seemingly do all this work to get edge rushers and get offensive linemen and trade for A.J. Brown, and we're going to go sign Saquon Barkley. And yet, one of the most important things in the NFL is growing into a modern passing game that we see other teams like the Rams and Bears and Lions, when they had Ben Johnson, blossom into. And Philadelphia has not been able to do that. And it's a real setback for a team that I think a lot of people thought could roll through the NFC this year based on their overall talent. And it's just not happening.
Yeah, it's a continual frustration. I mean, like we say, they've dealt with that. But S Box with a 5, looking to the future, what positions should we prioritize in the draft and trade? Goddard, Blankenship, Phillips, Dean are set to be free agents.
Yeah, it's me interesting. I mean, Dean's going to be the real question because Dean seems to be like the secret weapon for Vic Fangio, and yet I don't know if you can pay Nakobe Dean and also make sure you resign, because they got to resign Jordan Davis this year. Jordan Davis has been incredible. He's been better than Jalen Carter. He's been more available than Jalen Carter as well. Obviously, injuries aside, but Dean's going to be very interesting. They like Jahad Campbell. I don't know if Vic loves him when he compares him to Nakobe Dean. I think you can re-sign Blank. I think Makuba's fine. I think they're going to get a cornerback at some point in the draft. Don't have to go too high. I think that you could go corner in the first 3 rounds based on all the picks, or if there's a free agent available, I could see that being the big free agent splash is going to get a cornerback. I think they're going to go offensive line, Josh, and I think they're probably going to go edge rusher because edge rusher is very interesting right now. Jalen Hunt is playing out of his mind. Jalen Hunt's their best defensive lineman right now. He is unbelievable and blossoming into one of these kind of undersized, really quick, speedy edge rushers who's going to wreak havoc in the NFL for 10 years. He's really good. Nolan Smith is still dealing with an injury. He's definitely played much better since he's come back. I don't know if he's blossomed into that star role that we're hoping that he can be in. Again, I think it's more due to the injury. And then Jalen Phillips. I think he's been really good as well. If they just re-sign Jalen Phillips, they can run back the defensive line as is. As long as Jordan Davis is there and Jalen Carter's there, they don't have to spend a high draft pick on an edge rusher. They lose Jalen Phillips, then I think you need offensive line and probably defensive line, and then cornerback is kind of the direction that I would go in the draft. And it's and also tight end. I think tight end is crucial, and there's some really good ones in this year's draft as well. So I think there's kind of 4 areas you go after you see what you do in free agency that could then make the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft very interesting for a Bird team where they could really reload pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say offensive line is the most important for me in the draft because we've seen what we've seen this year. You got the injuries. Regardless if you have guys regressing, scheme, Tyler Steen not being the answer. He's been okay. Pass blocking, run blocking, just not it. So I think you got to draft somebody. You got to go and make that move, especially because it hasn't happened the last couple years, which is surprising for a Howie Roseman type of draft to not invest as much resources in the offensive line. Lane Johnson, the question, how long is he going to be? I know we have Fred Johnson, but is that the long-term answer? It's kind of more the swing tackle. So, yeah, I agree. You go offensive line. Jalen Phillips, I'm right there with you. But, and Nolan, you did mention too, played the most snaps that he has since the injury. It was actually a significant margin for this past one. So I'm hopeful as well that it's like, all right, that may be the sign if he's kind of finally officially getting over that injury snap count that they have. But when they're healthy, the rotation that they have, like, it's a nightmare. You saw it for Justin Herbert, but it's a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks because we're not talking about, defensive ends or edges who were like, okay, they're power, but they can't actually get to the quarterback. They can't run them down. A lot of times there, you had Nolan or Jalix being able to free up from a block. Now, it's still infuriating sometimes when you have a quarterback break free and, take off and get the first down. But 7 sacks, the pressure rate was 68% against Herbert. I don't care if it's a bad offensive line because it is, but I don't care. A 68% pressure rate in any game, my gosh, like that's insane. So, yeah, you kind of build on that. Have the edge group and figure it out somehow. Sadly, I think, and I hope this is not the case, but sadly, I do think that Nakobe Dean ends up going somewhere else. You drafted Jahad Campbell. It's a lot of draft capital there as it is. He
Mm-hmm.
does have a lot of potential. I know he's not the run
Mm-hmm.
stopper yet that Nakobe Dean is, but if push comes to shove and you're like, all right, we got JD taken care of, we got Jalen Carter's contract coming into play. There's an opportunity to get Phillips here, but we can only do that or Nakobe Dean. I think they make that decision and try to figure it out another way. I get the vocal leader that Nakobe is as well. The blitzing is insane with his talent there. I mean, he's the
So
best
good.
blitzer on the team.
So good.
But I just don't envision a world if push comes to shove and it's like, who do you pick out of those and who do you have to leave off? I think it probably would be Dean, just the riches that they have at the linebacker position already.
Yep.
Motivation with a 10, appreciate that. Says the Eagles will catch fire and get the bye looking the top NFC teams' schedules. I guess they have the belief there that the Eagles will get the bye.
What is the Rams' schedule?
Impossible, but my
The
gosh.
Rams'
They got
final 4
Detroit.
games.
They got
Detroit,
the Seahawks.
Seahawks, Falcons, Cardinals.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, sure. I mean, Philly has to win out to get the 1 seed. They have to win out, and that's very easy to do, I think, because I think Buffalo, is interesting there as the only real challenge. But you then do need help, and the Rams are really scary, guys. The Rams are really scary. I, as trying to be an optimist, have kind of settled in on the 2 seed as the ultimate goal. That way, you can kind of get the worst. You get that 7 seed, whoever it is. I think it's the 2 or the 3 is where they're sitting at. I think the 3 is most likely because obviously the South's going to be the 4. And I don't think Philadelphia's going to lose enough to not to fall to the 4. But I think the 7 makes the most sense. Or sorry, the 3 is the most likely. The 2 is like the dream because then you have a chance, just like the previous year, to have the 1 lose, and then you come to Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. The 1, though, I've kind of written that off as like a pipe dream. Like I feel like it's like a 5% chance that we get the 1 seed, but it is possible. Yeah. The Bears' schedule is very tough. They still got to play the Packers again. Green Bay then plays the Bears again. Detroit's schedule is the only one I don't quite know. Let's see. Obviously, play the Rams this weekend. We just mentioned that. They still have the Bears in Week 18, the Steelers, and the Vikings. Okay, so they all have harder schedules than us. So maybe. We can't be super upset like we were after Monday night, and then 2 days later be like, they're going to get the 1 seed. I'm positive today. I've been positive this entire show. But I can't watch what I saw and be like, yeah, they're probably still going to get the 1 seed, even though the schedule is very much in the Eagles' favor. Had they beaten the Chargers, Josh, the 1 seed would very much be in play.
Yep, I agree. And I'm, personally for me, I do think, okay, 2 seed is the more realistic if you're going to try to go for one of those. I am feeling like it could be the 3 seed. And we'll see. I mean, Green Bay, but the tie plays a factor. The actual tie. I know that we have the tiebreaker in the sense of beating them, but I could see it to where they have the 2 seed. But either way, like the biggest thing, most important, as we said this as well, is like the Eagles got to find something, and if they can build off of last game for the offense, defense is going to keep you in games. And we go back and look at the games that they've lost this year. The Bears game, even though it kind of turned into a rout in a sense. I mean, it was, 9-point game, but it was like, okay, they're just getting dominated and they score late and everything else there. It was a 1-score game with 7 minutes left. Like, they're right in it, as bad as the offense was playing. Same thing for the Broncos game. You had the win. You let them come back. Cowboys game as well. The Giants was the only one where from start to finish, you just got obliterated. And that was a short week. It was an inexcusable performance by both sides of the ball and everything else. But if the defense is rested, you're not going to be out of any game as bad as the offense is played. So if they can get up to an average level, then who knows? But just in terms of the most optimistic hypothetical that you could look at, if they're the 3 seed, that wouldn't be the worst thing ultimately. Because if you talk about it there, then you're like, okay, you're 3 seed hosting a team that's probably the second team in the NFC North, which is Chicago or Detroit, probably, right? If the Green Bay gets a 2 seed.
Or the third. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I would take either of those, quite honestly. We already beat Detroit. Chicago, I know they ran all over us. I don't think that happens again. I think that it'd be more of a like, hey, we know what you did last time. It ain't happening.
Yes.
Like Vic Fangio made adjustments. It won't happen defensively. Offense, you can take advantage. Jalen had many missed opportunities. The Chicago Bears defense will give you opportunities. So there's a really big chance there. The other part that could play a factor and would be a benefit is it's very, very likely. It's looking like almost a given that the Seahawks, or could be the Rams, but the Seahawks will be the 5 seed. And if that happens and we're the 3 seed and we win and the 2 seed and the Packers win, then we would go to Lambeau and play the Packers, where the Seahawks would go to LA and play the Rams. Again, we've already been to Lambeau. Vic
Mm-hmm.
Fangio has Jordan Love's number. I mean, we see all the last several
Yes.
games here. Vic Fangio
Yes.
knows how to scheme up against Jordan Love. Now, again, we know the offense has to do something to win these games, but there's a way you could talk yourself into it of going, all right, you could win a home game, you could go to Lambeau, you could beat the Packers, and then you're looking at either going to LA to play the Rams, which is kind of a home game still because the way the Packers or the way the Eagles travel, and it's not like playing at a Packers game in Lambeau, but you got that. Or if the Seahawks were to pull off an upset, then you're sitting there as a 3 seed hosting the NFC Championship game. So I know it's tons of positivity. It's unrealistic.
It's probably too much, but yes.
You know, it's
fun to think
thinking.
about.
So
fun to think about.
It's just it always does get fun as we get closer to the playoff schedule and like how that's actually gonna shake out. But Film Zach with a 10. I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on the fire Patullo train because Nick had to come in and our offense play calling to improve a little bit. But that game, I will say, play calling looked better. Not great, but definitely better.
Yep, that's
100%.
what we said. Better, not great. We're not freaking out here. But it's like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, we forget the throws that Jalen Hurts made 2 big throws on that final drive in overtime that were like money, and then he makes the bad one. But we forget about those because, that's just how it goes. A.J. Brown had a bunch of really good catches as well. It just,
if
too
AJ
many
makes
drops.
if AJ makes the teardrop catch,
they
it's
win the
a moot
game.
point. It doesn't even matter. Like, okay, there you go, touchdown. Because Vic Fangio's defense is going to hold up. But this is where we're at, trying to hold on to some optimism. Some things to take away. Optimism with a 5. To all the Jalen Hurts haters, tell me what other quarterback would survive the same career that Jalen has with how many offensive coordinators come and go?
It's Tanner McKee.
Would they prosper?
Gracious. I think Tanner McKee is an NFL caliber quarterback.
I do too. I think he's good.
I think he'd be really good. I think he'd be really good in the Eagle offense. But we're just kidding ourselves if we're going to joke about this. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable.
Philly. I'll get back to the other. The other super chats as well, but Philly member for 9 months says Josh and Thomas are the positivity rabbits.
Jeez, yeah. Do we need to be put down as well? I'm very curious today if they do interviews in the locker room, which they should. If the rabbit's still there, surely he's not, right? Surely
you would think
they have deflated the rabbit. I mean, it was a fun test. You know what's worse about this though, Josh? I think Philadelphia had their best week leading up to of practice. The most positive vibes that we've seen. I think that they were extremely focused in that game. They had a great game plan. They executed much better than they have, and less penalties and less 3 and outs, obviously the interceptions. They showed a lot of emotion. A.J. Brown was showing a ton of emotion in that game. They thought they were going to win, and the fact that they didn't makes it all the more gut-wrenching because it really felt like it was going to be the springboard. It really felt like that was going to be the game where they squeak out a tough one on Monday night. It's like, all right, guys, enough of the nonsense. We're all locking in. After the game, AJ was defending Jalen. He was like, Jalen didn't do this. It's me. It was like,
I know,
everything was perfect except for they lost, which is a real
the Hard
bummer.
Knocks clip of Jalen and AJ laughing, smiling, joking.
Yes.
It
was all there, and then they just threw it away. It's just, it made me so mad.
So close. But it's not over. It's not over.
But it's not over.
Jim with a 5. Gentlemen, thank you for your sanity. This is what separates you from your peers. Much appreciated. Go Birds. Thank you for that. We appreciate it.
I just don't understand. I mean, we see the comments when they lose, Josh, and they're all negative, obviously. And I was negative too, right? But I don't understand the whole selling point of what you're trying to give. This is the general we is just negative, right? I mean, do you understand what it's like when people are so negative about their football team, they check out. And I don't get how a business model works around negativity because people, if they're upset, why would I care to listen? You can only rant about how bad the team is for so long. People in Cleveland don't care anymore. People in Atlanta don't care anymore. Any team that's been eliminated, you can be negative all you want if your team's been eliminated. People don't care. Being positive, though, one, we're fans. It's way more fun to think positively about the Philadelphia Eagles right now based on the next 4 games versus being negative. And 2, I think people would rather be positive because they love their football teams and want them to do well. If you're negative right now, you don't care how the next 4 games go. If you truly think the Eagles are cooked 100% through, which I did a couple of days ago, and then I, calmed down, thought about it, and now here I am being a little bit more positive here. If you truly think they're cooked, you're like, whatever. Why would you even watch this show right now? They're cooked, right? They're cooked. I'll wait until March when they can reset, and then I'll buy back in. But if you don't think they're cooked, you can enjoy the next 4 weeks or try to, and if they start to win, could get a little fun, could get a little interesting. And if they don't, then you know what? wasn't meant to be. Only one team wins the Super Bowl. That's kind of how I've come to it, right? I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl right now. I think that they're very close to being cooked if they lose another game that ugly. But it's hard to watch a team get 7 sacks, Josh, against Justin
Hmm.
Herbert,
Yeah.
multiple interceptions, throw multiple picks of their own, and barely lose and go, yeah, we're fully cooked, versus like, yeah, but we're really right there, right? We're right there. If they can just figure it
I
out,
mean, that's why I say you could talk
anything's
yourself into it.
possible.
With this
You
defense,
can.
they're never
You
out of a
can.
game. They're never out of a
100%.
game.
That's
We've
why it's
seen
not
them
2023.
score. We've
Yes.
seen them score 10 points and win a game. We've seen them score 16 points and win a game against two really good teams, really good teams.
Playoff teams.
And just, it makes almost no sense. Yet that's where it's been so far. And yeah, we're being positive. I'll say this too, like, yeah, you come off of a loss, or you come off of the frustration, the multiple losses, the continued downside of the play calling, the conservativeness, the predictability, all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, once it gets around to Sunday, Monday, whenever the Eagles are playing, yeah, I think we're all signed right back up. We're ready to get hurt again. Like, we'll cheer them on it. We're ready for it. If it happens, whatever. We'll and it'll repeat itself. And maybe there's some insanity in that, but it's also being the fan. It's also, and we can call them out. It is
called being a fan.
We can be negative and we can call them out. But on game day, even those negative people that are, like, oh, they're so, when they're watching the game, like you said, there's still the like, okay, because if you're going to put yourself through it, if you're going to sit there and put yourself through it, then you still have, even if it's just the smallest sliver of hope, you still have something. So,
and it's still the Raiders this weekend. It is the Raiders this weekend.
Mekhi, member for 12 months. Love this team. We need to clean up mistakes badly. Yes. Yep.
Yes, we do.
Been saying that for weeks. And there is the realistic part of it, and also the hope that they can. They did clean up penalties. We will say that there were a few that still got him in the Chargers game, but it was less. It was less penalties, and it was better execution from that side. And then the issue became, well, now it's the dropped passes, and it's the other side. So if they could have a complete game for once, maybe we could talk ourselves into it. Monster Mike with a 10 bomb. Appreciate that. Hey, guys, been watching for years. Appreciate that as well. Suffering, huge AJ fan here, but being positive. Going to my first Eagles home game in my life this weekend. Best spots to visit, tailgate, best cheesesteak. God bless.
By the way, just for people wondering, if you want to go to an Eagles game, the next two at home, there's only 2 left, right? Week 18 in this one.
Yep.
Cheapest that they're going to be. They're real cheap right now.
That's
I was
fair.
doing a promo for SeatGeek today because SeatGeek has been one of my favorite partners all year long. Promo code Mott10, 10% off. And it's the cheapest I've seen Eagle tickets in December in like 5 years. They are way down right now.
Way down. Buy
low. If you want to go to a Bird game, the Raider game is the one to go to because they'll probably win, and it's super cheap.
There you go. Little plug for that. Get to the Raiders game. But yes, if hopefully they get the dub. They should, but hopefully they get the dub. Have a good time. I mean, best spots to visit: tailgate. Go see Dylan. I think it's Lot M. Some of the best food that you're gonna have there. The 4th and John tailgate is pretty good as well. We've been there a couple times. So shout out to them. You really can't go wrong. I mean, if you walk up to just about anybody and they offer like, "Hey, come on over," I'm sure that you'll get something good to eat. But best cheesesteak, I would say Angelo's or John's Roast Pork are probably the two that you could go to. Jim's is not a bad spot if you're in a bind. We weren't able to go one time for Angelo's or John's. I think they're closed or something. But Jim's is also not too bad. But yeah, you go to one of those and get hooked up. So enjoy. Rocky Statue is a must. If it's your first time there, Rocky Statue, Liberty Bell, the normal sightseeing things. But tour the stadium. I think you could still do that. It may not be too late. You can look it up. Lincoln Financial Stadium tours. I think it's normal on Saturdays of home games. So if it's not filled up yet, you could do that as well. So enjoy. Please bring us good luck. Wear whatever you need to. If they lose, it's your fault.
Please.
Eric with a 10. It's amazing that if Sirianni helping improves things drastically, why didn't Philly bring in some outside consultant to help with the play calling before this moment?
Don't know. I don't know. I do think it's hard to do consulting because they've spent from spring practices, right? OTAs in early May, end of April, or I guess early May, until now installing an offense, right? And they've been working on the same concepts and what they want to do and all this stuff. And if Brian Dable rolls in there and goes, "No, this is dumb. What are y'all doing?" They don't have time in the week to reinstall this sort of stuff. I mean, think about this week, Josh. This week, they stayed the night in LA. So they flew back on Tuesday, right? So they get in on Tuesday after a cross-country flight, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is. You come back, you go hang out with the family, you kind of decompress. The coaches try to start getting things figured out. Nick Sirianni says in Hard Knocks, probably sleeps in on his couch. Wednesday today, they're going to do a walkthrough. And then essentially you have Thursday to practice, Friday to practice, and that's it. You have 2 days. There's not a lot of time to kind of put all this stuff back in there, especially offensively. I think Vic's a little different. If you're a defensive consultant, well, when I played against Patrick Mahomes, I loved using cover 3, and I think that worked really well. You kind of, what'd you do against Mahomes? What'd you do against this quarterback? Whereas, hey, what kind of passing game concepts do you have to save our season is a little bit more difficult. That's why I don't think that they've done it. But it does show you with the right minds and the right analysis and the right input, then maybe the passing game can look just a little bit better.
And teams are also, very guarded for their own plays and what they're doing, because if you bring in a consultant, that guy is probably trying to get a job the following year at maybe a different team. Could be a team in your own division. So it made me think of Vic Fangio. Obviously was brought in to be that, but he wasn't even asked in terms of the defense mostly. He said that it was the offense of the Eagles asking him questions, like trying to be like, oh, hey, how would you play this, or try to get more insight on that. It wasn't even defensively of, okay, here's the structure, here's how we would set it up. So, it's both sides. It's a chess match of, the consultant's in there. They're willing to help. They're probably not going to show all their cards because who knows down the line, but they're certainly not going to get to look under the hood and get all the specifics because they're still a consultant at the end of the day. And, the Eagles are going to try to keep some things under wraps in case, that person would end up, if it's like, say, Brian Dable, for example, and he ended up with another staff in the NFC East the following season or eventually. Be like, we don't really want him to know that. So, Prince with a 2. Appreciate that. Says, is there a way to draft a new offensive coordinator in the offseason? Unfortunately, not. We've not gotten that one as an option that's come up. But there's, they could always get somebody for hire if they fire. It's pretty easy on that side. But Dagger with a 5. The Rams have flaws just like everyone else. Hit Stafford and the offense folds like origami. We have a chance versus everybody, home or away, when healthy.
We do, but the Rams are the scariest, right? I mean, I
for sure.
Fearing Matthew Stafford in the postseason versus fearing Caleb Williams is a completely different level of fear. I don't fear Caleb Williams at all in the postseason. If Caleb Williams has to come to Philadelphia in the first round or vice versa in the second round, whatever it is, I think Philadelphia probably cooks him. I think that's a lot to ask a second-year quarterback. Part 2 versus Vic Fangio. I don't think Vic gets embarrassed round 2. Matthew Stafford in L.A. without any weather, that's scary. They have flaws, obviously, but even the Panther game was a little wet, if I remember correctly, a little bit cold that they lost a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
obviously
definitely.
It was snowing like crazy when they were at the Linc for the divisional round. So, there's levels to it. Everybody has flaws for sure, but I do think Stafford's Rams, especially that offense, would be the scariest by far to face in the postseason.
No doubt. Yep. But we'd take our chances,
We would.
At this point, the way it looks,
Line it up.
if and when they were to play them, it probably wouldn't be until the NFC Championship game. If it's one for all the marbles and go to the Super Bowl, sure, we'll take our chances.
Yep.
But long way to go before we get there. We got to take care of some regular business
they
and get back on track.
My gosh, have got to win.
It's Music with a 5. No way we can get rid of Dean. His injuries should give us a huge discount. He cannot leave the building. Maybe.
I was going to say that, and then we moved on, that I don't know who's going to just line up and offer a bag to Nakobe Dean in the offseason because of the injuries, right?
Yeah.
They can't pay him like linebacker 1 in the free agent class, even if he plays really well the rest of the season, which he probably will, because there's always that thought process of like, well, you never know. So maybe that's part of it, but you mentioned it. What are you going to do with Jahad Campbell? You can't not pay or play your first-round draft pick who played pretty darn good until Dean came in. And you don't think, like we're praising Dean because he's really good at that A-gap blitz and he's really good in run defense. Jahad Campbell has a better body. He's way bigger and could essentially become a much stronger, pass rushing missile out of the A-gap than Nakobe Dean currently is. Dean is just way more, NFL ready. He's way more, ready to go in this defense. It's very different. But you and I have met Nakobe Dean in person, which, by the way, super nice guy. We love Nakobe Dean. We'd like to have him back. But we also walked within 5 feet at the NovaCare complex of Jahad Campbell. Jahad Campbell dwarfs Nakobe Dean. Jahad Campbell in person is massive. And if he's running at you full speed versus Kobe Dean, you take Dean 100% of the time. The problem is Dean is just way more cerebral in Vic Fangio's defense, and it's just way more. He's just really good in it right now. Hence why people want to go ahead and keep him. But I just don't know if you can just, we'll just give Kobe Dean a 3-year contract, and I don't know, Jahad Campbell, right? It's going to get difficult because it's a first round draft pick.
Definitely a fair argument. Which one of the many questions, conversations, thoughts that'll be in the offseason. Hopefully it's not until, I said this, I think yesterday as well on lots of other topics, but hopefully it's not until after Valentine's Day this year. So
hopefully.
Couple more minutes here. Appreciate the super chats. Get to these. Mauricio with the 2. I would love for Dallas to play at Philly. That would be an extreme. Lots of things happen.
Don't know if I would like that either.
Place,
I'm kind of good on that. On that. Yeah.
Choco Kayla, I think, with a 5. Lurie looked extremely upset last game, but last time he looked that upset, big change happened next season. So excited for next season. That's my positive.
Yeah, it's not something Philadelphia likes to do. They don't like to demote coordinators in the middle of the season, and that means everything's going really badly. They didn't demote Brian Johnson at all, and it was a nightmare there towards the end. So I think that,
he did call for Patricia, which was interesting.
He did.
Little different stance there, but
that seemed like DEFCON 1. I mean, they had no choice but to try that. So I don't think he's going to do anything midseason unless they lose. I think if they were to lose to the Raiders, for sure.
Yeah, they've continued to hold out hope for whatever reason.
So,
but I don't know. Yeah, we're in the same boat as everybody else is, but we're trying to be as hopeful as we possibly can. Mello with a 5. I'm more encouraged by the play calling after that game than any game all season. I know I'm not crazy. LOL. There you go.
See? I think multiple people agree for sure.
That's the kind of the general take. And I think it's also, you look at like nationally what people are saying too. Like when you have the homers and us maybe, right, saying it, that's fair. You could be like, well, okay, but you're going to say that, right? But you look at nationally and some of the analysts, especially like Eagles critics, Eagles haters traditionally, that are also coming out and saying, no, I actually liked what they did. There was some change, some difference there. So, a little more. It might carry a bit more weight. 5 from Tells His Lies. I haven't missed an Eagles game day since 2017. Love this team. Just hoping we can clean up this mess. Go Birds, and Hurts will fix his game.
There you go. I like that.
Yep.
I like that. I think Hurts has a good game on Sunday, but we did say that last week, and he did.
I felt so
maybe this is the week. Maybe this is the week.
I was like, man, if you get him in the dome, right, because there's no weather conditions, and he's just a bounce back on prime time. Oh, he had a chance. He was playing aggressively. He just make the wrong decisions, a couple of mistakes from him and others. But Canucks with a 2. I hope they win. Oh, Lord, let them win. That's probably a fair assessment for where we're at. Of Tells and Lies 2 as well. My phone had a stroke on that last message. No worries. I think I made up what you were saying, but your phone is still reliving some of Monday night, and that's fair. Tricky with a 10. Maybe this was talked about already, but how much better would this offense look with the majority of snaps under center? Play actions have seen a lot of success. Go Birds. We talked about that in the recap videos. We talked about it a little bit here. Yes, under center plays astronomically, like 2-3 times as good. EPA, yards per play, less turnovers. Everything is better under center.
And that's the staple of Ben Johnson's offense. You go back and watch the Ben Johnson offense in Detroit. They're under center more than they're in shotgun. And now it's the same, sitting there with the Chicago Bears. Running the football, it seems to be much better. The motion, the crossers, everything works so much better under center. You don't have to do it all the time. But Philadelphia, I think, did it, 18 plays versus 52 on Monday night in shotgun or pistol? It's like, what if we were 30-30, or whatever the math is, 40 or 30-50 would be because of 80 plays-ish, I don't know what the math is there. But, make it 60-40 percentage-wise, because you still have playing the shotgun. Sure, Jalen likes the shotgun, but, we'll see.
Yes.
Go under center.
We're getting there. Just stick with what works. It seems like it should be blatantly obvious. Don't run with Grant Calcaterra and Tyler Steen. Those have been issues. But all right, last couple super chats. Then we're jumping here. We got some activities to go, other stuff going on. But Young Ghost with a 2. Would you guys hire Mike Tomlin if we fire Nick? I don't think so. Nope, not for me.
Can you guarantee me that he would have a good offensive coordinator choice that wasn't Arthur Smith or and Matt Canada?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is he's not
I
calling plays. So for me, no,
Yeah,
I
I
couldn't.
think they would look at him if they fired Sirianni. I think they would definitely look at him, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if they would because the Bill Belichick stuff was very real. What was it? After 2023, whenever that
Mm-hmm.
was, they were looking at Bill Belichick, and Lurie had a relationship with Bill Belichick. They liked the idea of a
Oh
grown
yeah,
up
he's a
maybe
fan.
after kind of a younger, fiery guy in Sirianni. I think that they would look at him. I'm not interested though. I think
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin has kind of shown you what he is, and that's very mediocre,
Yeah.
above average. But man, they've you want to talk about Philadelphia being in the dumps? Be a Steeler fan the past decade. It's been rough.
Yeah, it's not been in the best way. I would say you're right. I think the Eagles as an organization, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman would look Mike
sure.
Tomlin's way and at least consider it. But just personally, if and when it got to the point of moving on from Sirianni, and I think we've said this from day one when we've had this conversation last year or 2 years ago at the end of that season, it was if you're going to bring somebody else in, bring a head coach in who has play calling experience because you don't want this vicious cycle every single year. Otherwise, you have success and your guys get poached. It happens in the NFL, especially a high-profile organization like the Eagles. Your coordinators are going to be gone. They're going to take head coaching jobs. So,
Yep.
Chaco with a 5. That's it. You convinced me to buy a ticket. It's so cheap. What? It is cheap. There you go.
It
Going
is
to the
cheap.
game. Heck yeah.
Literally go to SeatGeek and look up the Eagle tickets against the Raiders. It is really cheap. Really cheap. I saw like lower bowl, like the lowest that you could be for like $300, like on the Eagle sideline.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
dirt cheap right now. Buy
not
low,
too
baby.
high.
If you want to go to an Eagle game, this
Deal
is
with
the
the
one. That
stock
means
market here.
nosebleeds got to be in the hundreds. They got to be in the hundreds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was like 130, something like that. So
Cheap.
JJ King with a 2 going to my first game on Sunday. There's another one. Okay. You guys
Yeah,
enjoy
there you
it.
go.
Bring home the dub. Laddie with the 5. If Jalen and AJ both don't have incorrect characteristics showing, obviously we win that game. Do we think viewpoints on Kevin shift a little?
If they would have, won by more than 7 and didn't throw all those picks, I think that they would have. I think we would have really been pumped after that game for the offensive performance. But
Yeah.
it won't shift because they obviously lost. But I don't think that Kevin Patullo can save his job. I mean, we're so far in, the offense is not going to look that much different. I think it'll look 10%, 20%, 30% better, enough to win football games. But I don't think we're going to, come here in February and be like, oh, maybe, I think he kind of coached his butt off the final month and a half. I think we should keep him. I think he's probably going to be gone.
Yeah. If I had to choose, I'm with you. I don't think percentage-wise it's in his favor to do that. But
Yeah.
as we said,
Yeah.
if they win a Super Bowl, obviously he would be staying. If they reach the NFC Championship game, probably staying, depending on how you got there, unless it's just defense winning everything for you. But
Yeah.
we'll see. Cold Cash at the buzzer with a 5. I paid for these tickets to Boo Chip Kelly. He's still messing things up for me.
I know. I
Unfortunately,
can't
that doesn't happen.
believe that he's not going to be there. And let's just finish on this. I'll say this. Kenny Pickett's a better quarterback than Geno Smith, in my opinion. Geno Smith's
for
not
sure.
been
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah. No.
Pickett makes that offense at least slightly better, and they were better with him in garbage time last week. Still a very bad offense. They can't run block. They can't pass block. They have no weapons other than Brock Bowers. If Philadelphia is in any sort of fight for their life on Sunday, we got to pull the life support plug. And I got to be the first one to do it because I'm Mr. Positivity today. But if they're struggling in that one, oh boy, because it's not a good team, and they need a draft pick because they need a quarterback. They can't afford to win this football game.
They don't really want to. So
they don't.
11.5 point favorites, maybe 12.5, depending on where you're looking at. But feel free, use the code Philly Special Underdog, scan the QR code. Maybe for once, the Eagles overs on offensive players is a good bet, but I can't blame you if you don't want to do that. But $5 gets you $75 in bonus funds. So feel free to use that. Appreciate you guys as always. More videos, other content to come, and we'll see you guys. Go Birds.
Go Birds.